Hey there, this is Nia, and I'm here with Handmade in Ghana. And today we are going to make these earrings. So these are fabric earrings, and we are going to use basic things you can find around the house. So you need a pair of scissors, any shape you like, so anything you can use to draw a shape. If you have a compass, you could use a compass to draw circles if you want your earring to be in a circular form. We need paper with a high grammage, that's like a card, and so I'm going to use this booklet from GRA, and the back is a bit hard, so that's what I'm going to use for this project. So for my shape, I'm going to use an old earring. I like the shape, so I'm just going to replicate it. So you just place the shape you want to use on the card and then mark out to replicate the shape of the earring. And for each earring, we're going to use two cards. So the shapes we mark two for each earring. Because the earrings are a pair, that means we'll mark four. So we'll have two for each ear. So after marking out, you cut them out. It's better to cut them out into units before you cut around the shape. So whilst cutting around the shape, I'm going to cut through the line. And you should note that when you are doing art and craft, you have a pair of scissors which you dedicate to cutting paper. So you don't use the same scissors to cut fabric and leather. If you use the scissors you use to cut fabric to cut paper, the scissors will go blunt and you can't use it to cut your fabric any longer. So now that I'm done cutting, I'm going to place them on the fabric I'm going to use. So this fabric has a lot of different patterns, and I'm going to choose one and use. And you have to check for the right side of the fabric. So the right side of the fabric is what would show when you are done using the fabric. So when you look at the edge of the fabric, the right side would be where you can properly read what is written. Then so you use the back of that. We'll work on the wrong side, so by the time we finish we'll have the right side showing nicely. You'd also have to decide how you want the patterns in the fabric to appear in the earring, and so you have to probably place the shapes on the fabric to basically determine how it would be. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and trace out the fabric. Trace out the pattern into the fabric. So I know I'm going to use four for the pair of earrings. So I'm going to mark out 4 and then I'll cut them out. So I'll just go ahead and finish marking all 4 and then I would cut them out. So whilst marking, I realized I would have the same shape the way I was marking. So I decided to alter the pattern that shows on either faces. So on one face, you see the red square in the center of the earring, and on the other side, you see the dark grid with circles on the earring. I'm not sure if you follow what I'm saying, but I'm sure by the time I'm done with the earrings, you would see what I mean. So I'm marking another 2 for the different pattern now, and you have to balance the shape out so your pattern sits in a similar position for both earrings. So next I apply the glue to the markings I have made on the fabric and onto the paper. So I use 99 glue or shoemaker's glue, and I buy a big container and I pour just a small quantity that I'm going to use, and then when it's done I pour some more, otherwise it's going to dry up and then it would go bad. So I have applied the glue onto the paper piece I have cut. I'm now applying the glue onto the fabric and into the shapes. So I'm sure you can see the shapes, the pen markings coming out because the fabric is getting wet. When you apply the glue, please apply the glue and spread the glue thinly, because if you don't spread the glue thinly, it's going to wet the fabric and it's going to appear on the other side, and that won't make your final work nice. So spread the glue thinly as possible. You'd have to hold the fabric down with one hand, or with one hand, and then spread. So when you're done with spreading, when you're done applying the glue, the face where you apply the glue, you just stick that into the markings you did, and you do that for all the 4. And then when you're done, you cut out the paper that you have stuck onto the fabric. So that's what I'm doing now. I also cut them into individual pieces, and once the pieces are done, I would cut them out, leaving about 0.5 centimeters all around. So like I said, I'm cutting and leaving an allowance of about 0.5 centimeters. That's half a centimeter all around. Alternatively, instead of cutting, you could apply glue, because the allowance you leave, you're going to fold that allowance all around it to cover the paper. We don't want the paper to show after we are done with the earring, so the fabric would cover the paper on the edges. So if you cut, you'd have to use a small brush like what I'm using now to apply the glue to the edges of the fabric and onto the paper too, so that they would stick together when you fold. If you decide to glue before cutting, then you can use a bigger brush like I'm using this time, and then apply the glue. And I like this because it's faster. So now that I'm done gluing, I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting and leaving about 5 millimeters, so that's half a centimeter approximately, as my allowance all over the paper. So the fabric is just exceeding the paper by half a centimeter. So I'll just go ahead and then I'll finish cutting every single one of them. So now that I'm done, I'm going to fold, and for the folding, because they are corners, you'd have to use your fingertips and gently and slowly fold. The corners you'd have to fold in bits and small pieces, and take your time so that they lie flat and then it's smooth from the end or the edge of the paper. So when the fabric falls over the edge of the paper, you'd have to press gently and then try and take out all the creases and straighten it out and smoothen it out as much as possible. So that was just me doing it in slow motion. So I'm just going to fast forward the video and then finish it. So when you wrap, then you have it like you just saw. So the fabric wraps the paper and you don't see the paper on the edges. All you see is the fabric. And we are working on 4, so 2 of them would come together to make one earring, and another 2 to make the other earring. And so you'd have a pair of earrings when you're done. So this is again folding the allowance we left and glued onto the paper, so that the whole paper or the whole earring is neat on around the edges and you don't see the paper. So there we go. You can see 2 different patterns, the red in the middle and then the black in the middle of the pieces we have. So I'm using a rubber mallet to flatten out or to press the fold, so that I'm sure the glue has gotten a strong hold of the paper and then the fabric. If you do not have a rubber mallet, you can use a hammer like I'm using this time, and you have to focus on where the fold is to, because you need to exert some pressure to make sure it doesn't come off anytime soon or later. So when we are done, we're going to pick one of each. So on the table you see 2 different patterns on the pieces there, but in my hand, you see one part, and then when I turn to the other side, you see the red part there. So you have to make sure you have one red in the middle and then one black in the middle, and we pair them that way so that when you wear the earring, either you have both faces or two faces for each of the earrings, and they are perfect pair. So now that is done, I'm going to apply glue to the edges of the folded pieces. So I apply the glue with a small brush this time because I do not want the glue to get on the right side of the pieces I have folded and wrapped with the fabric. So I start working from the edges and then I work my way into the center. I work from the edges because the edges are a bit tricky, so I just like to take my time. When I spread all over the edges, then I spread into the middle of the piece where the paper is. So I do that for all four, and then I'll set them aside. And when gluing, it's better to you glue on a different surface. If you glue on your paper surface, you would have the glue on the paper or on the table or the surface, and then it can get onto the right side of the earring or whatever it is you are working on. So I put a piece of board there and then I work or glue on the surface of the board. So I'll just finish this up and then we'll continue. Okay, so now I have finished gluing and I pick out the hooks for the earring. The earrings will dangle, so I have two hooks. And now I just pick up the pieces and then I just stick them together like I'm doing now. And I make sure I don't have any glue and on the edges, and then I press again with a hammer. I press down and then make sure they are nice and flat. Then I go and take another look, and if there's glue from anywhere, I clean it with my fingertips. Next, I'll punch holes into where I want the earring to hang from, where the hooks would go. So I use my punch, a very small punch, and punch the hole. And then I have rings, they're called jump rings. You find that people who sell beads and items for jewelry. So I open up the ring with my pliers and go put it through the hole I created in the earring, the fabric and paper assembly I have done, and then I close it up, and then I fix the hook onto it. So this time I fixed the hook, the ring, I closed it and fixed the hook. The second one, I'm going to open up the ring like I'm doing. I'll fix it onto the fabric and I'll just fix the hook, so I do not have to go and open the hook like I did in the first one. When I close the ring, then I close the ring and the hook together. So here we go, and our earrings are done and ready. So these are earrings already done, and then we can wear them. So that's just about it for